Hello and welcome back to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Now, Georgia and Moldova, two countries with European Union aspirations, which are being blocked by Russian influence in Georgia, by a pro-Russian government, and in Moldova by what is claimed to be election rigging by Russian money. Well, what is going on and what do we see as the future path of these two countries as they overlap with the European Union? Well, to discuss this, we're joined by Victor Kipiani. He's Chairman of Geocase. Mr. Kipiani, welcome to TVP World and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Good to be with you. Thank you.
Pleasure to be with you too, sir. So let's start with Georgia. Can you lay out what the dynamics are right now in terms of the Georgian ambition to join the European Union?
Yes, the layout is quite precarious. It's Russian hybrid warfare is in a very active phase, based on some local support. I have to be very honest with you. We still have to have a proper judgment what is the penetration of the Russian influence and Russian political mind when it comes to Georgian politics. And an outcome and regrettable outcome of that influence from outside and from inside is the substantial backsliding in democracy, which is not reflected just in enacting different controversial laws, which runs across the stated spirit of Georgia, stated commitment of Georgia to become member and to open accession talks with EU by fall of this year, but an overall environment in the country, which puts under the serious threat and danger the institutional capacity building, alongside with security, exposes Georgia not just in terms of European context, but in the context of its own capability, statehood and sovereignty. So this is, in a very snapshot, all those negative ingredients which we're facing at this moment when edging towards very critical elections in Georgia. The elections on the 26th of October, I have to remind to our audience, it's not just about the power, but it's about the foreign policy objectives, which have to determine the direction of this country and the fate of this country, obviously for several decades to come.
Understood. Now, the elections this year are coming up. They're very, very important elections for a number of reasons. But we do have a slight fly in the ointment in the sense that we have the Georgian Dream Party, which is not particularly excited about joining the European Union. And it is assumed one of the reasons that they've introduced this foreign agents law, which is, as the EU says, designed to gag political opposition. Are the elections going to be free and fair?
Well, it's really difficult to judge at this stage. We are in the process. There are certain dynamics which sends, let's say, the negative signals and negative messages. But we still have to see. And definitely I'm not in position to prejudge in a complete manner whether the elections would be fair and transparent, because we all agree that the elections are not just the election day, but the whole process. It is good to know that engagement or involvement by different international observers at this point is very extensive. So that gives us a definitive hope that the grave violations and serious violations would not be passed by. It is also important to note that engagement of an overall society and a civic oversight on the ground has been, to the extent I've never witnessed before, at least for the last decade. And the last but not the least point, the inflow of a substantial wave of new voters, a generation of new voters. These are Georgian youngsters who definitely and clearly and explicitly demonstrated their willingness and their support for Georgia's pro-European path. So I think that in anticipation of very high, if not the record turnouts, is a potential room or potential space for speculating, for rigging the elections, they've said, would be squeezed out as much as possible. But nevertheless, we still have, 2 weeks before the elections. It's quite the plenty of time when we speak about transition democracies. As for the Georgian dream, it's a very curious thing that Georgian dream has never rejected or has never gave up on Georgia's pro-European path, at least when it comes to declared and stated objectives and goals. But and a downside that those statements do not clearly coincide, or do not organically coincide with the actions which Georgian dream is undertaking over the last period of time. And we have clear messages and clear statement by the European Union. If you want to become a member of the club, you have to abide by the principles and by the rules of the club. And what Georgian dream is doing at this point, with its leadership, is clearly breaching those rules, violating those principles, however, still stating that pro-Georgian, the Georgian dream is the most pro-European party and the mainstream party in the country. I think that that controversy would be given a clear and definitive response as a result of the elections.
Well, it certainly has already been given a response, has it not, by the European Union, which is withholding 121 million euros, which was allocated to Georgia. What do you think is the political dynamic of that decision, coming as it does just before the election? Is it sending a message to the electorate, to Georgian Dream, to Russia? Why? Why now? Yes. Calling off different financial aid or financial assistance programs, it's not just about the money. Of course, money matters. Money always matters, especially for this fragile economy, which the Georgian economy is. But most importantly, and you've said it very correctly and very rightly, it's about political messaging. And that political messaging, I think we don't have to cheat ourselves. That political messaging is directed to the Georgian voters. The European Commission, on a no-name basis, let's put it this way, very softly and very diplomatically, never pointed out to Georgian Dream as an anti-European party. And of course, the European Union and the institutions of EU never abused that right to shame and name, or to name and shame. But clearly, by calling off different programs or making those assessments or statements or opinions, it's facilitating or helping the Georgian voters to make informed decision. And I think, when we speak about the informed decision, especially when that informed decision has to come into compliance with the Georgia's stated objectives and the European compliance rules, definitely, that facilitation, and I'm not saying interference, because these days we hear many speculations by the ruling party that it's interference by EU, it's interference by foreign parties. I think that at this juncture of history, that facilitation is something which we very much need. And I don't be expressing myself in a very obscure and a very abstract way. More that facilitation becomes more intense, it becomes better for Georgian voters to make the already mentioned informed decision. Understood. Okay, well, Ms. Kipiani, before I let you go, I want you to look in your crystal ball and tell me what you think the Georgian government is going to look like after the election?
It's really about looking into the crystal ball, which I don't have. And I envy if anyone has the crystal ball. Listen, the most realistic scenario that, and I would take a courage to make such a prediction, that expecting a sweeping victory by Georgian Dream should be ruled out, because the public sentiments and the public feelings on the ground do not tell us, that Georgian Dream would continue ruling the country unilaterally after the elections. But at the same time, it remains to be seen what would be the combination, or what would be the composition of the Georgian opposition to parliaments. However, all in all, what is inevitable, and what I could tell you for sure, that hopefully unilateralism would be ended, and the Georgian political landscape would be facing a next challenge in the Georgian political culture, forming up a coalition government and working and adapting their habits and their culture to the spirit of working within the format of the governments.
Understood.
Which would be composed, which would be composed by different political parties.
Understood. So a coalition. Well, we'll be inviting you back after the election and discuss what happened. Thank you very much for taking the time to share your analysis with our audience. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And that's all from us in this episode of World Talks. Don't go away. Lots more coming up. Bye for now.